a 12 millimeter open end box end wrench. Mine's ratcheting. It'll make things a little bit easier down the road if you don't have one. You can always use a ratchet with a 12 millimeter socket. A rubber mallet. I'm gonna use a torque wrench after we're all done. I'm gonna need a 19 millimeter socket. Mine just has an extension on there to help with bolting it on later. A breaker bar to break some of the bolts that are on there. An 18 millimeter socket. Flathead screwdriver. I'm gonna be able to pry off the caliper from the actual assembly. C-clamp so you can press the piston from the caliper into the caliper again. I'm gonna use this impact wrench so you can put the wheel on after we're done. And also we're gonna use this for that 19 millimeter socket when we put everything back together. And then finally, we're gonna use 3-ton jack. It doesn't have to be 3-ton, but whatever suits your needs, you can use any jack that you need to. We're gonna use that to get the wheel in the air.
Let's get this wheel in the air by finding the jack point and lifting it up right on up. Want to break the lug nuts, not like break it, but you know what I'm saying. Anyway, we took our ratchet, or our gun, and just used that to take it all apart. I'm going to take those two bolts and set them off to the side where you can get them later. All I gotta do now is just pry off the caliper itself away from the assembly and then hang it up. If you don't hang it, you can put stress on the actual brake line itself and it can crack or break. You don't want that happening. You're just doing the road 50 miles an hour and all of a sudden, wow, no more brakes. So, gotta be careful. So you want to loosen up the bolts for the caliper bracket and then take a wrench to that to take that all off. Ours is pretty rusty, so we had to use the breaker bar pretty much the whole time. Once you get those off, just move that out of the way and you can take the rotor off. Clean off the gliding pins that are on the actual bracket itself, and then you can re-lube those and put them back on for later. Want to clean up the rotor so there's no grease on it. Once you're done with that, you can put the bracket back together. Just put those two bolts back on. This will kind of help hold the rotor in place so it doesn't fall off when you're trying to work with everything. Go ahead and put on your new hardware. Then you can set in your new pads. Once you got your pads in, you're going to want to put a little bit of grease on the back of the pads themselves, just so that the caliper can kind of move a little bit and loosen itself up instead of getting stuck. Once you press the piston back inside of the caliper, you can put the caliper back on the assembly. All that's left now is just to bolt it up and tighten it down. Want to set your torque to manufacturer spec and then go in a star pattern and torque it down until you hear it click, and then you do a retorque on the same part again in a circle. Once you're done with that, you can let her all the way down.
Alrighty. 19 millimeter.
You're like, Matt, you're like, I got this.
Yeah, I just take it up by hand. That was ridiculous.
You're like,